Hello everyone, welcome to Poesy's e-learning and certification services. This is fourth video session in the MQTT video series, and in this video session we are going to learn how to build an MQTT client application. An MQTT client object creation is the first step of creating an MQTT client application. This can be done by calling the client constructor method from PAHO MQTT library. Syntax is given here. The client constructor takes following arguments: client ID, the unique ID assigned to client object, generated automatically if no value is passed. Clean session determines session type. If true, which is default, a fresh session will be created every time client connects to the broker. If false, the broker retains client information or state for session resumption when the client disconnects. User data, user-defined data to be passed to callbacks. Default is none. Protocol, the version of MQTT protocol. Default is version 3.1.1. Transport, the transport layer protocol set to WebSockets for MQTT over WebSockets. Default is TCP. As the first step of writing our MQTT client application, we will open Python IDE application. We'll open a new editor window and type below given code. The first line of the code is import function to import client module from PAHO MQTT library. And second line is to create client object by calling client constructor. Let me show you how to do it. To save the time, I already have this code typed in IDE window. Here is the code. Now to test the code, keep in mind you should have Mosquito broker running in a command terminal window. As you can see here on my screen, I'm going to run this code, run module. The code has been executed successfully, but there is no output as expected because we are not doing anything except creating MQTT client object. Let us go back to presentation. So we have successfully created a client object. In the next step, we are going to connect this client to MQTT broker. In our case, MQTT broker is Mosquito broker running on local host. Regardless of the role client is supposed to play, for example, a publisher or subscriber, the connection establishment is always the first step. The connection establishment process is initiated by the client. The client sends a connect message to the broker. The broker responds with a connect, which is connection acknowledgement message, and a status code. To initiate the connection establishment process, we can use connect method as given below. The connect method takes following arguments: host, the host name or IP address of the broker; port, the network port of the broker, default is 1883; keep alive, maximum idle period in seconds allowed between communication with the broker; bind address, the IP address of local network interface, for example Ethernet 0 or wireless LAN 0, to bind this client to. The minimum required information required to be passed to client is host name or IP address of the broker. So here is our Python code. As you can see here, in the first line, we are importing client module from PAHO MQTT library. We have given it an easy to use name, MQTT. There is a new function in our code. This is callback function. The function name is onConnect, and this function will be called by client as soon as it establishes a connection with the broker automatically. As a part of the main code, we are creating client object. Object name is MQTT client. And then we are attaching onConnect callback function with this client here in this line. In the next step, we are sending a connect request to MQTT broker running on localhost, and this is why I'm using IP address 127.0.0.1. And in the next step, we are keeping our client in a loop. I'll elaborate more on loop_start function in one of the session. The expected output is here. Our client application will send a request to broker, and as a response on successful acceptance of this request, broker will respond with a return code 0, which is going to be printed on the screen by our callback function. So let me show you how to do it. I have this code written in a new IDE window. Here is code, and I'll keep MQTT broker window on one side of my screen. I'll run this code. Okay, response has come from the broker. The connection return result 0. And as you can see here in the broker window, this connection acknowledgement message has been sent by broker. The return code 0 is a part of connection acknowledgement message which has been printed here in this window by our application. So we have successfully created a client, and we have successfully connected this client object to MQTT broker. What next? In the next step, we are going to learn how to disconnect client gracefully from MQTT broker. And for this, we are going to use disconnect function. A call to disconnect function disconnects the client from the broker cleanly. This event generates an on disconnect callback. Here is our code. We have extended code to include one more function. The function name is onDisconnect, and this function is a callback which will be called automatically by MQTT client as soon as it disconnects from the broker. There's one more module we are using here. Module name is time, and we are going to use a function named sleep from this module. This function will be used here in the code to insert a delay of 5 seconds between connection and disconnection. As part of our main code, in this line we are creating MQTT client. In this line we are passing onConnect and onDisconnect functions to client. Here we are sending a connect request, putting client in a loop, and after a delay of 5 seconds, we are sending a disconnect request. This is what is expected from our code. Request will go to broker. Broker will accept the connection, and after 5 seconds, we'll send disconnect request, and broker should respond to this along with status code 0. Let me show you how to do it. So I have this code in a third editor window. Here is the code. I have already explained code to you. Let me show you how does it work. So here is MQTT broker window. I'll run this application. Connection has been accepted by broker, and after 5 seconds, broker accepted disconnect request and responded with result code 0. Let's look at the broker window. So as you can see here, initially broker accepted the connection request. It sent connection acknowledgement, and then it accepted disconnect from the client after 5 seconds of delay and acknowledged with a written code 0 printed by disconnect function here in the shell window. So we have successfully learned how to use PAHO MQTT library to create a client object and to connect and disconnect this client object. In the next video session, I'm going to show you how to write a subscriber MQTT application. So stay in touch. Happy learning.